Thank you very much and good afternoon to everyone. Kilimo Trust is a regional NGO that supports agribusinesses access markets. So essentially what we do is we support farmers, traders, processors access regional markets. And to do this, we do a lot of market studies to understand how big the market opportunities are. So I'm just going to take you through what we have done on animal feeds so that you get a sense of how big the animal feed sector is in East Africa. So, to start off, I can tell you that the livestock sector is improving, is growing. Animal feeds, the demand is growing. We are seeing the demand for animal feeds growing largely because driven by commercial livestock production. So you can see most of the speakers that have spoken here are into commercial production, either poultry, dairy, and others. But also we are seeing diminishing grazing land due to population growth, but also climate change. And also we are seeing changes in demographics that is also driving the demand for livestock products and byproducts. So if you look at, in a nutshell, I can tell you consumption of livestock products is growing. The largest is in poultry, and poultry is about 11%. And even in terms of the population for livestock, we see that the largest population is in the poultry, 133 million birds in East Africa. These are 2018 estimates. Now, if we look at animal feeds, we do have a deficit of animal feeds to the tune of about 5.3 million metric tons per year in East Africa. So for the private sector, the opportunity is huge. The EAC is currently producing about only 1.7 million metric tons, but we demand about 6 million metric tons. That should be 4.3, not 5.3. So 4.3 million metric tons. So the opportunity is there, and please invest in animal feeds. We look at the deficit, and I break it down again per country. This was 2013, 2014 figures. The last slide I showed you was 2016. The trends keep on changing, but you can see that Uganda has the largest deficit. So locally here, the opportunities are huge. Don't worry about the numbers. In terms of Kenya and Tanzania, the sector is much more developed in Kenya, but the demand and the deficit in Uganda is huge. We're looking at 4.4 million metric tons per year. If we look at the demand in the EAC, the categories of feeds demanded in Uganda and in Kenya and Tanzania, again it's poultry. Poultry feeds, the most demanded, followed by poultry, and this is followed by dairy. So again, the investment opportunities are there, and you can see how you can create those linkages between the different sectors. If you look at the characteristics, there is a huge correlation between what is produced in the countries in East Africa, whether it is Kenya, Tanzania, or Uganda, and in terms of animal feeds and the products, the byproducts. So you can see in Uganda, the animal feeds that are manufactured here are largely use maize bran and sunflower, and soy cake. But there is also rice bran that is demanded in Kenya, and also maize bran that is demanded a lot in Kenya, and also in Tanzania. The animal feeds manufacturers, unfortunately, in East Africa are small scale. They are largely informal, and this is why the value chain is largely unstructured. So there are opportunities to improve this value chain by supporting these manufacturers to grow and equipping them with skills. Also, they source the raw materials in the localities in which they are. So you can see, again, there's a lot of effort that government needs to do in terms of creating opportunities for the small-scale industries to harness the support that is already being given for maize, for rice, and sunflower investments in the country. If we look at the processor characteristics, The processors are there, even those that are small. We just heard from Birungi that is big. When I calculated his installed processing, his current processing capacity is about 48%. The average that we did for the study in 2017, we found the processors are only utilizing about 44%. So again, the opportunity is there for you to ensure that these processors can actually get to about 90% installed capacity utilization. In terms of storage capacity, again, they're only utilizing about 45% of their storage capacity. This could certainly be bigger, and so the opportunities are there. So what can I say are the challenges? The challenges are many, but I'll talk about the challenges and give you also what we think we can do both for the private sector and public sector. We have a limited supply of raw materials for the manufacture of animal feeds. And here we are talking about quality and quantity. We are producing the raw material that is needed, maize bran, seed cake, whether it's oil seed cake from sunflower or soybean. We are not doing it well. Poor post-harvest handling, increase in aflatoxins. This is not good for the animals, and therefore it compromises on the quality of animal feeds. So we need to see how best we can improve the production of the raw materials for animal feed. But we also, one of the other ways that the private sector can benefit is to leverage the investments that are being made in terms of creating linkages between those that are producing the seed cake and those that are producing animal feeds. Let us make deliberate efforts to create those linkages so that we reduce the transaction costs and actually make these much more accessible even for the smallholder farmers. But most important of all, for those linkages to work, we must create awareness, build capacity of the producers and the food processors so that there is better management of the raw materials so that byproducts are good and healthy for the animals that we are looking at. Remove any bottlenecks, a number have been alluded to, but we think the fiscal incentives for regional trade in raw materials should also be there. Insufficient regulatory and policy environment, this has already been said. The Animal Feeds Act, government, we really need this in place. Once we have the Animal Feeds Act, we're also looking at standards and also enforcing those standards. Mechanisms to harmonize the animal feed standards. The standards have been there, EAC level they are there, but being able to harmonize and disseminate them to all the actors is really critical. We need support there. But also research and development on production and handling of animal feeds is critical for our animal feeds industry. Also, we need to train experts on feed formulation because we don't have those experts to advise the small processors on the feeds formulation. And so at the end of the day, like Birungi said, they are mixing and different formulations and the outcomes are always bad. Now, limited organization of the animal feeds industry. It is not well structured. And so we need fiscal incentives to attract big investors to structure this animal feeds industry. And also promote the creation and build the capacity of industry associations. If the private sector can come together and be united, have a voice, then they can even have mechanisms to self-regulate, because we can't expect the public sector to do the regulation and enforce at the same time. It's very difficult. Develop a modus operandi for sampling raw materials of animal feeds. Again, this is the capacity that we are talking about, both from public sector and private sector. In a nutshell, I'm telling you the opportunities for animal feeds investment are there. Please take advantage of them and invest in this area. Thank you very much.